a proof of witness. Power is the seal of authority. It is only by power that demonic entities can shift away from a territory. Even the very gates of territories don't open except as you come by power. Everything. A man and a woman meet themselves and a child is born. The children you give birth to in the spirit are the things that make you relevant in time. So there are many people who are walking on earth barren, so they have no relevance in God's agenda. For you to be relevant on this side of the divide, you must have had a form of intercourse, an encounter with God that would have bettered something for humanity. This is the first thing that makes you relevant. The second thing that makes you relevant is worship of God. And I told you yesterday, worship is not a song. You can worship through singing, but worship is a state of adoration that results not just in praising God, results in obeying God to the degree that you submit your will for his own will. The first time the word worship was used in scripture was in Genesis 22 verse 5. Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac, and he said, I'm going up with a young lad that we may worship God. Nobody was singing there. A man who loved God was submitting to God's will, even at the expense of giving up the child that he waited for 25 years. When Jesus was in Gethsemane and he said, not my will but thine, that was the greatest service of worship on earth, that he substituted his will for the will of God. The degree to which you worship God is what gives you relevance in eternity. This is why till this hour in the throne room, the only creatures that have proximity to the throne are worshippers. From the 4 beasts to the 24 elders, the Bible said day and night without ceasing they worship forever and ever, saying, holy, holy, holy is the Lord. So anybody who does not have worship as a part of his or her life, his existence may not count much. The people God is seeking are called worshippers. John 4 verse 23 and 24, he said the Father is seeking for those who will worship him in spirit and in truth. So we must all come to a place where through the revelation of God we have, our life becomes a river of adoration to God, and we submit our will to God's will at all times. Whatever he desires becomes our desires. Whatever he chooses becomes our destiny. We didn't come here to be creative. We came here to be obedient, because before we were formed in our mother's womb, our ordinations were written. This is the act of worship in the realm of God. Number 3, I say what makes your existence count is the degree to which you participate in the thy kingdom come agenda. God has an agenda on the face of the earth. He wants to extend his government from the spirit realm to the natural realm. Matthew 6 verse 10, when you pray, he said, pray after this kind: our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That's worship. Then thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. To what degree your life is spent in advancing God's agenda is the degree to which your existence counts. The Bible said a man's life does not constitute in the multitude of his possession. We came here to enforce God's government on the face of the earth. And I said, as important as this is, you can't achieve it except as there is an authority on your life called dominion. This is why when God created the first man, he wanted him to extend his supernatural, invincible government to the natural and visible realm. But God knew that wouldn't be possible except that man has dominion. So in Genesis chapter 1 verse 28, after the man was created and put in the garden, the Bible said, and God blessed them and said, be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue the earth, and have dominion. You can't extend God's agenda and God's government without authority. This is why dominion becomes very important. And I said we must understand what dominion is. So I gave us 5 definitions of what dominion is. I said number 1 is the authority to exercise governance. So when God created us, he bestowed upon us the capacity to exercise governance over specific jurisdictions. And every one of us who is here, whose life is worthwhile, there is a sphere where you exercise governance. There is a sphere where you insist
on the will of God to be done. For some of us, it's as small as our families. That's a good place to start. For some of us, it's within the cycle of our friends. For some of us, it's in the institutions where we find ourselves. For some of us, it's in the nation where we are domiciled. And for some of us, it's over our generation. When we talk, it affects the generation. That is dominion, is authority. You don't do those things by wishing. You do those things because there's something on your life. When you speak and your generation hear, it's not because you are an eloquent speaker. It's because there is a law in the spirit. This is my
power. Is a proof of witness. Power is the seal of authority. It is only by power that demonic entities can shift away from a territory. Even the very gates of territories don't open except as you come by power. Everything